love it. Well, we do have some guests, and we want to kind of get into that a bit. Allison Rivera is the outreach coordinator at Home Base. Home Base is based out of Massachusetts, and with satellites all about, including Houston, Texas. That kind of is where we connect. Jake's gonna be here for all kinds of support and seems to know just about everything. They've both been part of this organization for, I think, combined 8 years, and have super positive things to say about it. So I'm going to turn it over to them.
Thank you. So essentially, we are a nonprofit mental health facility that we offer no cost services to veterans of all service eras and discharge statuses, service members of every component and branch, and their families. So we do accept or we bill insurance if you have it, but it's not required. And that's just to basically offset the costs because we are entirely philanthropically funded. So, yeah. So, our facilities that we would bring people to in person right now are typically the one in Boston. If you're coming for either the 2 week mental health trip or a 1 week if you're special forces, those would both be held in Boston. We pay for the travel, we pay for the hotel, food, all of that, because we want to remove as much barriers or as many barriers as we can so that everyone has equal chance to basically show up and just focus on themselves. It's not considered inpatient. It's just in person, you know. You come here and you learn a little bit, you work on some stuff, and everything's done from a holistic approach. So the connection we had with ArtSpark is in that holistic approach. They do things like nutrition and exercise, but also art therapy. And then we also have an outpatient side. So the Houston aspect, right now we are working with the Menninger Clinic and they're helping us with our outpatient services, doing just therapy, individual therapy for veterans and their families. And then we also have the art therapy virtual open studio. So essentially, if anyone wanted to maybe just connect with other people that also like art, very similar to this situation right here, whether it was to showcase something you made, to learn about a new art form, maybe network, maybe just watch other people talk about the things that they love because you're looking for a little dopamine. Um, it's a really good option, and it's open, like I said, to everybody. Um, and those are heavy hitters, I think.
Yeah, just to kind of add to that, discharge status is a very, very big thing in the military. If any of you guys are familiar with that, an honorable discharge essentially means that you didn't really have any hiccups. You're able to really get out after your service commitment and access a lot of the benefits that are entitled to us. So educational benefits, health benefits, disability, house loans, job training, all that stuff. If you do not have an honorable discharge, so that could be a general other than honorable, it could be an other than honorable under like bad conditions, and then there can be a dishonorable discharge. So there's a lot of things that happen in the military that would lead to something like that. So oftentimes if somebody has a bad conduct discharge or they have something other than honorable, they're not able to access the same amount of services that another veteran would. So as Allison was saying, we accept people, if they were in for one day up to 40 years, right? If they raised their right hand, went down to boot camp, and something happened to them in the first couple of days, that might have happened 30 plus years, but they've been told that, hey, you can't access any services. And we're like, no, that is not the case. We really, 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 really want to approach people where they're at. So kind of talking about our position, we have our team is about 12 veterans right now. In our organization as a whole, I would say around 30 to 50% is either service members, veterans, or military connected. So they have a family member that's been in, father or a child or something on that. And then the rest of the staff that we've had have worked with thousands of veterans through their time at the VA and then being here. the most, I don't want to say convenient, but like the amount of outreach that we get and the people that are coming in, typically they're not getting, we do get referrals from other providers, but it's really kind of word of mouth. It's other veterans telling other veterans, hey, this is a different program. This is something that's a little bit different. They're not going to treat you like that. As we are a service member and a veteran mental health organization, people think that it's going to be that veteran and mental, like military kind of affect, but they're not going to get that at all. It's really a bunch of really, really soft, warm individuals that will kind of approach people where they're at and be like, hey, it's okay to not be okay. Other than that, like Allison said, we bring in people from all over, not just the country, but the world. And again, we provide all of that completely free of cost for them. So we've had people flying from the Philippines. We had somebody recently from Poland, from Germany, people that are living in mainland China, Australia, UK, Ireland, Canada, basically anybody throughout the world if they are a United States military veteran. And we've also had special operators from all over the world come in to get care because we are really an industry. I hate like blowing smoke up our own butts. But we really are an industry leader in what we're doing. And we are very, very trusted within the organizations that partner with us. So a lot of organizations like the Blue Angels, which is, Navy pilots, Green Beret Foundation, the Semper Fi Foundation, the Navy SEAL Foundation as well. A lot of these big organizations that have a lot of pull within their communities, they have a lot of people that are engaged in our programs and now want to, get their buddy or get their friend or get their spouse or anything into our programs. The intensive clinical program that we have in Massachusetts, it's about 2 years worth of therapy within 2 weeks. So that is revolving around, it's trauma based. So it's typically post-traumatic stress disorder, traumatic brain injuries. That's kind of the main thing that they're coming in with, but we also service depression and anxiety, substance use concerns. So my position on staff is that I'm a certified addiction recovery coach. I've been sober for 4.5 years. So really meeting other veterans where they're at, getting them connected to community resources because you guys are in a place like that where it's not just mental health recovery, but it's connection to community. It's being around people that understand and that are going to be, allow you to be vulnerable. So that's kind of, hopefully I was able to add in everything that you missed. Allison did a great job kind of explaining everything, but yeah, we just care and we're excited to connect with other people in the community that care. So now I'm going to stop talking again.
No, that was really wonderful. And I appreciate
Thank you, Melvin.
Unpacking services. I think when you mentioned Open Studio earlier, and you probably do mean both, that there's an in-person component, but I didn't realize there was this virtual component too.
Yep. So I'm going to share in the chat before we leave the QR code and the little synopsis that will bring you to the registration page for that. So anyone can join in there and just sort of see what's going on. And the in-person one would be if someone's coming to us for care. If they're already here, like in our intensive programming, they're going to be including art therapy within that component.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Yeah, and I'll make sure that I add that to our living document as well.
Additionally, Jerry, just wanted to bring up another one of our non-clinical offerings. It's called, so there's actually two. So there's the Resilient Warrior, resiliency-based courses. So that would be for service members and veterans. For Resilient Warrior, we have Resilient Family. So actually, Jerry, you would be open to this as a son of a veteran. But anybody that else is in here that has, military family connections, we have our Resilient Family and Resilient Youth. So Resilient Youth would be for military, aged connected kids. So high school and elementary, but essentially it's a 6-week free course, non-clinical online through one of our links that you can just sign up for. And throughout those 6 weeks, it teaches mindfulness and wellness-based tips. So meditation, some mindful movement, some breath work, basically, hey, like what are some things that you dealt with this week? What are some things that we can implement to be able to assist? And it's in a group work as well. So you'll be with other, if it's a veteran, they'll be with other service members and veterans. If it's with a veteran family member, Like Jerry, you would be with other veteran family members that are adult age. And I don't know, again, if anybody else in here is military connected, but you guys are more than welcome. Then the military kids one, they'll all be with other kids. So if there was something very non-clinical that you wanted to immediately offer somebody to get involved with, that would be a really, really great program to get involved with. Hey, Jeff.
I have a few questions.
Yeah,
Um,
Elizabeth's in the same field, so probably has way better questions than I could ever imagine. Please go, Elizabeth.
So I work in Texas in suicide prevention, but I don't have a clinical role. But before I did this, I worked for a VA program that has ceased operations called Coaching into Care. It was a phone-based program. I used to recommend you all the time. And I forgot, I was like, is this the same thing? Because it was kind of out of sight, out of mind. I wasn't doing that. So you are the same program I used to recommend. But I used to tell people, this is a program for I was talking not to veterans, but to family members. Say, this is a program to definitely look into. My understanding was that the veteran has to go with someone else. If they're doing it like a residential program with you, there has to be that support person there.
Yes and no. So if you're coming for our program anyway, if you are coming to the ICP or the 2-week mental health program, you can bring somebody with you if you would like to the hotel. And then most people choose not to.
Okay.
But part of the actual programming during that 2 weeks is family-based education. So they have 2 to 3 days where both the service member or veteran and their support are virtually learning the same material. And then they go into breakout rooms to then practice those skills with each other. Things like healthy relationships, communication, and such. For the Special Forces program, it's very encouraged to bring a support person if you have one, someone who's there with you, most of the time. Usually it's the person you live with. But that is to then give that sort of clinical understanding for whatever the patient or the service member, the veteran, is learning in those appointments about themselves. The support is also learning to help better prepare, themselves when they go back home and to take care of that person, with a little bit more knowledge. And then also just because it is sort of a lot, crammed into either the 1 week or the 2 weeks, having that extra support there, also allows them to focus more on, what they're doing as opposed to worrying about, things going on at home, being far away, and such like that.
And on top of that, Elizabeth, so it is not a residential program. We're considered an intensive outpatient program. So again, at the end of the day, like if somebody is like, hey, I'm going to go walk around Boston until, 7 a.m. tomorrow, it's like, okay, we'll see you at 7 a.m. So if somebody like for the 2-week program, typically it is like we ask them to come by themselves because it is 2 weeks where they're really doing a lot of work. If somebody's like, hey, I need this support person with me to be able to get through, we're not going to say no. In the 1 week combat, as she had said, I think a big part of this is conceptualizing a lot of these big things about, trauma work and exposure therapy and cognitive behavioral therapy and what this all means to the partner. So we found that it's clinically, for the 2 week, it's definitely clinically appropriate where they can either be there or they can be virtual. If anything, it might be a little bit better for them because it might be 2 parents and one of them has to watch their kids, right? So they're at home. But we also offer a 2-week program for family members specifically, and you've probably heard this one, Elizabeth, called the organization called TAPS.
Yeah.
Okay. So if you guys are not familiar with TAPS, TAPS is a national organization that works with service member and veteran families that have died under due to suicide. So there's a huge PTSD aspect, but also a huge grief aspect that's kind of co-occurring with that. So we have a 2-week program that we bring in TAPS family members to basically go through the same programming that our veterans go through. It's a little bit different as opposed to like the night and weekend activities, but it is that 2 years worth of therapy within those 2 weeks.
Did you used to have a facility in Minnesota?
No.
Or a program? Okay. Just was checking if there was another location you were working in. The other question I had was, do you ever get VA referrals?
Yeah.
You do? Okay,
All the
good.
time. Yeah.
My coworkers are clinical social workers who receive calls from the Veterans Crisis Line, or if it's been flagged in North Texas that someone's expressed suicidal ideation. And it could be everything. Sometimes people call the Veterans Crisis Line because they sprain their ankle and they just want someone to pick up the phone. They are not suicidal and they're not in crisis. They just want a person on the phone. So a number of these calls get filtered out. And then we do have lists of high-risk veterans. I want to be able to tell them about this program, especially because you can fly that individual to your facility. I also, you have a place in Houston. Would they be redirected to Houston for treatment? And would they be able to stay also in like a hotel if this was a more intensive program?
So later on down the line, that would be the case, most likely. So right now, because we're so new, the outpatient aspect is the only one we have at the moment. Right now, if somebody was looking for that, intensive program to stay in a hotel and walk over to the clinic every day, that would be done here.
Okay. Is there a waiting list?
Yes.
For Boston?
Yes. So I just wanted to kind of reel it back a little bit, and it's about a 6 to 8 month wait for that ICP. As you can imagine, we just have so many friggin' veterans and so many friggin' service members.
6 to 8 months. Okay. I am only saying because if I'm dealing with a high risk veteran, of course, they're going to get into VA services, counseling, etc. But that could, so we're not looking at this as this is something you can do now, but
yes,
but to be considered. Okay.
Yeah. So essentially, if somebody is indicating like, I'm going to kill myself, right? If they give up, if there is major risk concerns, we wouldn't suggest the ICP at that point. We would probably suggest if they were coming in, say if somebody had some substance use issues and they couldn't, we ask when the veterans are here to not drink or use illicit substances while they're here, right? So if they can't, right, if they're having withdrawal shakes or, they're drinking throughout the program, like that's kind of, it's working against what we want to get clinically. So at that point, if they indicated that, they're having some significant substance use issues where they don't feel like they could get off for those 2 weeks and it would be healthy for them, or they're having significant suicidal ideations where there's that risk concern that's involved, where they have a plan in place, not the suicide ideations that may come up day to day, where that's just, unfortunately, it's very normal for a lot of people in the military and just people dealing with trauma where suicide ideation might pop up from now. And, we wouldn't turn somebody away if they're like, yeah, I do have them, but I don't have a plan in place. I know my supports and stuff. So it's really dependent on who that individual is. But if somebody's actively suicidal, we wouldn't want to bring them here for an intense 2 weeks and then send them out where they may unravel, if that makes sense, Elizabeth.
Yeah, that does make sense. And would it be possible, and last question, I'm sorry.
No, don't apologize. We love questions.
No, but for anyone else, because I'm sure there's other questions. If someone comes to you, they've been receiving VA services, can there be a sharing of medical records so at least like anything that might be pertinent to their time with you?
Yep, they just have to sign the release that they give permission for us to request their records. So anything that would have been done within the Mass General Brigham, the network, they are either opted in or opted out into the sharing. And then with the VA services or any other private, medical, all they would have to do is sign a release form, and then we would be able to access those should they want to.
Thank you.
And typically with that, Elizabeth, we would want to make sure somebody has some aftercare when they come to our program. Like we really want people to continue with therapy and stuff. So definitely. we would help them probably identify some therapists closer to them. We also understand that privacy and confidentiality is a huge thing. So we don't require necessarily releases of information to share, especially if somebody's like, I do not want any of my information out. But that is something that we encourage them to be able to share information with their doctor and be able to understand, things that are coming up. So we do like ROI signed, but we're never going to force somebody to sign an ROI.
Mm-hmm. And at least with the VA, if they stepped away for a few weeks from therapy, if they were in therapy, they can resume post program. But thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, those were great. Thanks for getting in the weeds, guys, and letting us listen in as you did. Wonderful. Melvin or James, did anything kind of come up for you guys? I definitely want to make sure that we get that virtual link. I really appreciate you talking about the Resilient Warrior and Resilient Family 6 weeks courses. Those seem like really, really great virtual options for people to kind of just get in.
Yeah,
Or-
low barriers for engagement. That's really kind of like where we're at. It's like, do you want to engage in community? Do you want to engage in clinical services? Do you want to engage in just getting resources? A big part of my job is really meeting with people. They'll come in for the 2 week program, and if they're identifying, hey, that I have a behavioral issue like gambling or pornography or sex addiction or overeating, all the way to, I'm really, really struggling with that. I talk with them about like looking at things outside of the clinical space to get connected with, like arts and crafts and veteran outdoor organizations. And, there's a lot of places specifically in Texas that give veteran discounts, like sporting events and stuff like that. So, yeah, we just want to approach people where they're at and not overwhelm them.
Love it.
Yeah,
And she's
Jake,
in the Resilient Warrior thing right now.
Allison, y'all are wonderful. I love you. And next month, our congressman is having a veterans fair, so it's going to be face to face. And so at that, would I be able to that QR code that you're going to share, take something like that, or I'm asking what would be something easy and less intrusive where I understand what y'all are talking about and it's powerful. How could I get information quickly to other folks at that setting?
Yeah, I'm gonna be sending Jerry also a lot of our flyers, and he can disseminate them directly, whether it's you guys have a newsletter or an email chain, that kind of a thing. You can grab as many as you would like and share. They have a lot of information about just different types of the programs that we have, and we have some specifically for Texas as well.
And I'll make sure what we get over to you is just a very quick elevator pitch about what it is. Just so, because I feel like I appreciate you wanting to disseminate our information. I also don't want you to feel like you have to explain kind of everything with our organization. So if I can give you a basic enough understanding to be able to pass it to somebody else, it will be on us after that, where whatever questions that they have, we'll be able to answer. But we appreciate you wanting to do that, Melvin. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Lovely. This is great. I want to thank our guests. We've occupied more than 15 minutes of your time.
Well worth it.
Well worth it.
But this was such a good informal conversation. I really appreciate you taking the time to do it. We will obviously continue to kind of spread the word as we can and get people connected to, especially some of these virtual services. Because, like you said, it seems like it's such an easy entry.
Yeah, 100%. And just on behalf of both of us, we really appreciate the time and the energy. James, if you do get over the long COVID eventually, we have what's known as brutalist architecture up here. Like our Department of Mental Health is literally one of the ugliest, most oppressive buildings in the entire world. So if you do get over long COVID or you get to a point where you're feeling pretty good for a couple months, there are some places for you to photograph up here, my friend.
That's good fun. James is in. I think James is making the trip. Charlestown. James.
Sold.
Lovely. And worst comes to worst, veterans and service members get in the Museum of Fine Arts for free. So if you guys make a trip up here, you can literally use me for my discounts, and I'll bring you guys to the Museum of Fine Arts.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thanks, guys. We really appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you
Allison.
very
Have a great day.
Enjoy.
All right, folks. Let me share our living document here, and we can look through some of those things. They were great, right? What a good crew. So many things are new to me. Home base was new to me as well, but I'm so glad Elizabeth has kind of a history. Connected a dot. November's going to be a big one. It's going to be a big one around here. We've got, we kind of just made all the selections for our Distinguished Artist Veterans exhibit. I believe all that information is out there in the world and all artists have been contacted. Kim Flores is running this event for us and has really put together, it's a good venue. It's going to be tight. I think it'll feel like a party in there for the reception. But also a panel, kind of that same week, Monday, November 10th from 6 to 8. This is all at the Georgetown Library in their big Friends room. I think it seats about 50 or so. That's going to be coming up kind of the week after the reception. So the reception is that Friday, November 7th, up in Georgetown. Then just stay in Georgetown through the weekend and hit the panel up Monday. And then that following Saturday, November 15th, we have a visual artist and writer, Sarah Colby. She works with the Inkblot program out of San Antonio, but she's a professional writer and writing coach. So she's going to come in and do a 3-hour workshop at that same Georgetown Library that following Saturday. And she seems really cool. Her curriculum looks great. It's kind of combining writing with some visual prompts and no drawing, James. No drawing, from my understanding. Visuals used, but no visuals created. Actually, that might not be true. I think it's more of a diagram, which you might respond to diagrams, James. I feel like diagrams are great. Let's see, we've got a Women Veterans Exhibition. This is coming up, or it ends October 19th. It's in El Paso, Texas, kind of across the way. I think someone sent this in a few weeks back. Part of that Texas Veterans Commission. They're always doing great stuff. Some resources, creative veterans art therapy groups that are out of Dallas, I believe. I think we got this a few weeks back from our Dallas art therapy friends. Links to connect with that group here. I know they've already started, but there might be new groups forming. More veterans art therapy out of Dallas art therapy group. This, I think, might be connected. I believe maybe this was the launch. And this is the ongoing class, 6 to 12 sessions. Websites here and kind of their program information. There's that mask project I feel like someone was talking about earlier. Avalon Action Group, they have all these different sites, some in Dallas for PTSD veterans. Veterans Land and Board has a Thursday meeting, Understanding Women Veterans Programs. I believe this is a virtual event. Yes, virtual resource event. So you can kind of just go there, scan the code, collect different resources impacting women veterans. And that is, I guess, first of next week. This facilitation lab, I think I might have missed this last week, or last month rather, when we had Untamed Hope as our guest. We received some information from Aaron at Untamed Hope on facilitation lab there in Waco. Melvin may have information I don't about facilitation lab. Melvin, have you interacted with those guys up in Waco?
Yeah, I started that facilitation lab there. They're worldwide, and it's a practice playground where a safe place where folks can go in and apply their trade. And what facilitation means to you, I think everybody understands what that is.
Yeah. That's great. Oh, that's so cool. Yeah, I hate I didn't hear about this. I'm sorry. Designing a workshop. Yeah, all those resources are so necessary. This is also where ArtSpark, we don't advertise that we do it, but certainly we get contacted by organizations all the time. How do I kind of organize an art activity inside of certain content areas? Those are always fun projects to work on. But great to know that there's someone in Waco helping and assisting with that too. That's awesome. The only events that are coming up, Restoration Ranch has the Heroes and Horseshoes Casino night. I feel like that is such a clever, catchy title. I don't know what's involved completely, but it seems like gambling in a barn, which can be a lot of fun. And there's a couple different veteran women's meetups. This is at the West Dallas Multipurpose Center, the 1st and 4th of each month. This is an in-person. And then we've got a couple of things that are registration only. Texas Veterans Commission on the Art events. The link to those events here. These are both around women's needs. Breast Cancer Awareness Month, that's coming up in October, or we're in October.
Jerry,
Yes,
what day do we meet in November? What's the date?
that's a good question.
Let me see. It's a second.
13th.
Okay.
What
The only the reason I ask is because Veterans Day and the weekend prior has lots of different stuff going on, not necessarily art related, but
Oh, sure.
I don't know if we should send you any information. I mean, I know about stuff in North Texas,
Right.
but it's just a swirl of activity before Thanksgiving hits, and then everything goes quiet.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we'll prepare for that.
What would you prefer?
But I say, yeah, if you've got things that are gonna, especially happen prior to Veterans Day or on Veterans Day, that the first kind of week and a half in November, definitely
Okay.
send those.
Thank you.
I think let me add those to this list, and maybe it's just I'll start a separate page, kind of just geared for Veterans Week or Veterans Day activities, because we're gonna have a lot, I suspect. Yeah, that's a good idea, and Veterans Day is 2 days before our meeting, so we'll get those out on that first weekend.